You are watching the Tuesday night edition of Chicago Corner. Woo!
Welcome to Taco Tuesday!
Who wants a taco?
You ready to eat some tacos, bro? You ready to eat some tacos, bro?
All right, everyone. Act normal. Perfect.
Oh my God! It's Taco Tuesday!
I don't feel it's my place to tell people how much they should drink.
And there are ants in my whiskey.
They add flavor, Kira. Is that
man,
like the worm in tequila?
Have you seen my whiskey ants anywhere?
That's okay. That's okay. The show will go on, everybody.
Speaking of inflatable meat wads.
Happy Taco Tuesday.
Hit it. That's good.
Hello and happy Taco Tuesday to you all, and welcome to Chicago Corner. I am deep dish pizza enthusiast Edward Heller, and I'm sounding like a serious news reporter for no reason. Hello, everybody. Good to see you out there. Happy National Lemon Meringue Pie Day. Yeah, that's what today is, amongst other things. I think Kira's having a birthday, but we'll have to confirm with her when she gets back. Happy birthday, Kira. And yes, Arturo, welcome to the show. He says, it's Ed, the Bill Curtis of Chicago Corner. Kathy Powers, good to see you. She's thrilled that we started the show on time. Well, part of that is because I wasn't waiting on Jerry today. Jerry is off this evening. He will be back on Friday. And in the meantime, we are here to celebrate National Lemon Meringue Pie Day. Why? I don't know. Somebody made it a holiday, and so here we are. So luckily, we have the wonderful people at National Day Calendar to tell us about Lemon Meringue Pie Day.
Welcome to August 15th on the National Day Calendar. If you're taking things easy on this sunny summer day, then boy, do we have the dessert for you. Bright as the sun and as easy as pie, a lemon meringue would do nicely right about now. Though lemons grow year-round and nothing brightens up a meal come rain or shine quite like lemon juice, it's time to bake up this old-fashioned shortbread crust with tangy yellow custard topped with fluffy clouds of sweet meringue. It's rumored that Elizabeth Goodfellow first whipped up the dessert in the 19th century when she also founded one of the first cooking schools in America. On National Lemon Meringue Pie Day, celebrate with an all-time classic that reminds us of sunshine in the clouds. I'm Marlo Anderson with the National Day Calendar. See you again tomorrow as we celebrate every day.
Yeah, I forgot to make one for today because, you need lemons. I don't have lemons. So that's mildly problematic. But there is other stuff on the program this evening we can talk about. After I take the lemon meringue pie title off of the thing there. Welcome, everybody who's just joining us on the program. I am Deep Dish Pizza enthusiast Edward Heller, and this is the Tuesday edition of Chicago Corner. With some breaking news coming to you. This one's from CBS 2.
New at 5, for a second time in 2 days, Chicago's mayor is addressing the firing of Chicago's top doctor. Dr. Allison Arwady says she was abruptly let go over the weekend. Here's what Mayor Brandon Johnson had to say today about the now former commissioner of the Chicago Department of Public Health.
Every single administration has to be prepared for transition. And my administration is no different in that regard. Transition is difficult for everyone. I don't know how many times you're allowed to quote Tupac in a press conference, but
I think the limit is 4.
you can't always go by the things that you hear, right? Real eyes, right? Realize and real lies. That's also Tupac Shakur.
Yeah, that's open for interpretation. But something tells me he didn't have much confidence in the information coming from Allison Arwady. So really quick, jumping over to Law Club Chicago for the headline. In case you hadn't heard, Allison Arwady fired as Chicago's top doc. During her 8-year tenure at the Chicago Department of Public Health, Arwady helped lead Chicago through the coronavirus pandemic. She was ousted Friday, according to Block Club. They say the city's top public health official was fired by Brandon Johnson after helping to lead the city through the coronavirus pandemic. Okay, well, lead us through, I guess. Dr. Allison Arwady was ousted. They keep saying ousted in here. From her role as commissioner of Chicago Department of Public Health, according to media reports. This was reported yesterday. Arwady's firing ends her 8-year run with the Public Health Office, including nearly 4 years as commissioner of the agency. First Deputy Commissioner Fakirti Wagau was named acting commissioner, the Tribune reported. And back to CBS 2's analysis.
Johnson did not address whether he had ever met Arwady one-on-one during her time as commissioner. Let's bring in Dick Simpson, former Chicago alderman and political science professor emeritus at the University of Illinois, Chicago.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. So Dr. Arwady was at the forefront of the pandemic, one of the faces we locally saw so often, holding weekly Facebook sessions and playing a key role in policymaking. So what led to her ouster?
Well, there were 2 things that were important in the decision, I think. One was there was a difference between Brandon Johnson and the CTU and when they should go back to school. And Dr. Arwady said that we should open the schools because the kids were losing too much. And the teachers union were saying it was too dangerous. And so that created a rift between both the CTU and Mayor Johnson and Arwady. The other thing is a difference on how to deliver mental health. In the campaign, Brandon Johnson promised to reopen the mental health centers in the different communities. Dr. Arwady had been trying to increase and did increase mental health services, but not to reopen the buildings.
So, Dick, this probably shouldn't come as a big surprise because Johnson also said during the campaign that he would not keep Arwady on. What do you make of the timing of this, though? He's been in coming up on 3 months now. The Board of Health actually had asked the mayor to keep her on.
Well, first of all, the mayor has been fairly slow to change the cabinet, and that's actually been a good thing because it's given him time to choose who he wants for each of the key positions. But it's much slower than most mayors have done in the past.
Okay, I think we're done with his analysis because I've got my own analysis on the timing for this, and also I have comments from the internet on Allison Arwady, which Dick Simpson keeps mispronouncing as Awardy, but that's okay, Dick. It's a hard name to pronounce. First off, and I'm probably going to get a lot of people agreeing with me here. I stopped trusting what the CDC was telling me because we were starting to get mixed messages and false information, and new information kept coming out. And so she kept taking a lot of direction without questioning any of it. And it was just, whatever comes up from down on high, she's just going to parrot those talking points or whatever. So I had a problem with that. I know people had issues as to when exactly we should have ended the lockdowns or opened the schools up. And Jerry and I had talked on the other day on the program that there was way too much mixed messages and misinformation being fed to us by authorities. And so I don't know if we need to keep beating a dead horse, so to speak, metaphorically, because it just feels like, at this point, Brandon Johnson is just fulfilling a campaign promise. Now, as for the timing, I think it's because he was about to announce his pick for chief of police, and just throwing in my 2 cents. I don't think the rank and file in the current makeup of the police department were big fans of Arwady. And so if he's trying to get people to accept his choice, then it goes very much in his favor to take care of this thing earlier than to keep dragging it out and letting her stay on. So that's just my perspective on that. If you want to get more information on Allison Arwady, I have more articles in the show notes. There's a Sun-Times article linked in the show notes as well. If you check the description on the video, for most of the platforms that we're streaming on, we should have links to tonight's show notes for Tuesday, August 15th, 2023. But I'm going to skip ahead to the fun stuff, which is the Twitter comments, because some people were complaining that, because she was fired without him even meeting her in person to do it, which, people have different opinions on that one. I think that might have been kind of a weak move there. He should have done it in person, in my opinion. But he didn't. So she didn't, he basically just, pulled the rug out from under her and just didn't let her, do any kind of, graceful exit, which maybe that was the point. I don't think he wanted her to have a graceful exit on this. I think he needed to make it known that she was being fired. And here's Austin Linfante on Twitter saying, responding to a post from Dan Mihalopoulos, who posts, Arwady lobbied for months to keep her job, but was fired without ever meeting new Mayor Brandon Johnson and was given no chance to say goodbye to her staff. And then he links to the Sun-Times article that goes deeper into that. Austin says Arwady was uncompromising on sending armed police to deal with mental health episodes, keeping mental health clinics closed, and ignoring long COVID. But God forbid Brandon Johnson doesn't give her a farewell tour? Where's the civility? You could feel the sarcasm on that. Next comment from Paula Leifer says, stop whining about Mayor Johnson firing Arwady. Her continued support of private sector providers versus reopening cities' mental health clinics is primary. I am a social worker. As recently as April, a formerly reliable private clinic refused my referral. That's a big deal. That's it. We have enough of a broken system as it is, as far as dealing with mental health crises and healthcare and all these other public and social services that we should have but don't, or the ones that we do have are already problematic. But she made it worse, or didn't make the steps to do it better. Kathy Powers says, we've been looking for a replacement with public health experience. Okay. Arturo thinks she was given plenty of warning and this was all a setup for new administration keeping their promises. Yeah, that could be. I mean, maybe they gave her a heads up, but something tells me they didn't. I have a feeling like, she was. Well, let's go to the next tab. Let's see what other people are saying. I don't want to steal other people's ideas here. I'm just gonna use the ones that people are posting on Twitter, because some of these perspectives are extremely important, because not everybody is mentioning these on the mainstream news. And I think, here, Eliz had a similar opinion as me. He says, all Arwady ever did was parrot CDC talking points she was given, even when they were wrong. No interest in critical thought. Not even a super lib is safe from the Johnson administration. She was late on the reopening of schools train as well. Suburbs were back well before she was on board. Now, you'll all have differing opinions on, where she dropped the ball, but I'm trying to give you a pretty good microcosm of the ones that I think are included in, I would think, his reasoning for firing her. But we may never know all of the details of why, because I'm noticing a pattern of Brandon Johnson in press conferences where he says things that are often taken as cryptic or vague, because he may or may not want to give all the reasoning for some of the things he does. And I hope he doesn't make a habit of that. So here's independent journalist Jim Daly. Ultimately, I see Arwady's firing not so much as, quote, retribution from CTU, and more as a repudiation of the neoliberal approach to public health. Arwady more or less capably administered that approach, but elections have consequences, and a shift away from that is one. Jim is correct. And then finally, because even it's only been a few days, but even I am starting to get tired of hearing about her, and we've barely been talking about her. Dave Steiber says, how many news cycles will Arwady get? Will Arwady and Lightfoot attempt to build themselves a statue proclaiming their greatness? Will the Illinois Policy Institute fund it? In case you needed it, here's a thread of why Dr. Arwady needed to go. And he has a whole thread there, including the Collaborative for Community Wellness's petition to fire Allison Arwady, along with a bunch of reasons that they list. Again, you can see a link to Dave's Twitter post in the show notes. And while I'm taking a breath here, because I feel like I'm running 100 miles an hour, I want to thank all of our Patreon supporters for supporting this channel and the content that we provide. It's not cheap to do this stuff. It costs money to do streaming service things and pay for internet and that kind of stuff. And so, we don't like to beg, but we really appreciate everyone who supports us. And if you'd like to be a Patreon supporter, you can head over to patreon.com/Chicago Corner. And a bonus perk, if you donate, if you are a Patreon supporter of at least $5 a month or more, you have the opportunity to be a guest on this program if you want. So if you want that to happen, get in touch with us. You can send an email to jerry@chicagocorner.tv, or you can tweet us or hit us up on the social medias and let us know that I've got a working webcam, my internet is pretty decent, and I'd like to be on your program. And we'll go, okay, let's figure out a good time. And so that's an opportunity you have if you are a Patreon supporter who is donating at least $5 a month or more. So that's pretty cool. Oh, while we're at it, we should head over to ChicagoCornerTV.com because I did this little thing over here called the Brandon Bingo card. And you can all go over to ChicagoCornerTV.com and scroll down to the part that says get your Brandon Bingo card here. Click on that link, and it will load up the page to your very own, Brandon Bingo card. Now, I have bingo card number 004. Yours will have a different number, and all of the stuff on your card will be in different locations, except for Fix the Potholes. Everybody gets Fix the Potholes in the center square. But I had unchecked it for today because actually this was breaking news on Friday. But send Arwady packing. If you've got it on your card, you get to check it today. So that's pretty cool. So again, head over to ChicagoCornerTV.com. Check out all our stuff. It's got links to everything. It's got all of our social media links, places where you can stream. You can even watch the show on the website. We've got it embedded in there as well. There are links to what do we have links to? We have a section called Useful Links, which has all kinds of stuff like mutual aid links and links to certain types of city services, like where you can report a pothole and that kind of stuff. All right, so back to the thing here. Where was I? I had Jim Daly. Dave Steiber was tired. Dave Steiber was tired. Already wants to know how many news cycles Arwady's going to get. Okay, we're done with that. And then where are we at? We're at the part of the show where we have more breaking news. And should I play it again? Yeah, I probably should play it. Stand by for more news. Chicago has a new top cop.
Our other top story tonight, Mayor Brandon Johnson introduced his pick for the Chicago Police Department's next superintendent.
If he's approved by the city council, Chief Larry Snelling pledges to make Chicago the safest city in the world. Here's how he wants to do it. He says 3 of his top priorities are taking a shared responsibility of public safety with the city, police department, and community working together. Also focusing on the wellness of officers and building up trust with the community. Tonight, CBS 2's Megan Hickey has been digging into Chief Snelling's record with the department and what it might mean for the future.
Today, Chief Snelling was hailed as the son of Englewood with 3 decades on the job with CPD, but that resume includes some instances where he's been in conflict with the current administration. It's official.
Chief Larry Snelling has been chosen to lead the Chicago Police Department.
The Englewood High School and DePaul University graduate joined CPD in 1992. His most recent rank, Chief of CPD Bureau of Counterterrorism.
It's just an amazing feeling to stand here, and it probably still hasn't sunk in yet. What are we going to do?
He's been a leader for much of that tenure, speaking on behalf of CPD on many issues, including publicly defending the department's use of the controversial gunshot detection technology, sound thinking, formerly known as ShotSpotter, back in a 2021 city council meeting.
We could say that 85–90% of the time, the shot detection system doesn't render any information.
So 65% of the time, it works all the time. He's seriously doing the Sex Panther defense for ShotSpotter? Okay, I don't know, man. I think he's trying to see the bright side on that technology. And I think the bigger picture, though, is that it costs way too much for what it does very badly. So, okay. I mean, yeah, they're digging into him basically defending the technology in the past. Who knows what kind of interactions he's going to have with the mayor going forward regarding that, because a lot of the candidates were going to get rid of ShotSpotter. And I still think that's probably a good idea, unless they're able to get a huge, deep discount and that people retrain themselves on what it can and can't do, so they don't have the types of expectations or the types of uses where they're basically using it on the south and west sides exclusively, which is really, really bad.
What we need to look at is the 10% of the time that it does.
Only problem is Mayor Johnson made it a campaign promise to stop using that technology. I asked him what this pick meant for the future of the contract.
We're committed to collaborating and listening to one another. There's a level of expertise that Chief Snelling brings to the forefront, and his expertise is valued.
When I asked for Chief Snelling's response, he and Mayor Johnson declined to comment further. Snelling was also probed about his tenure at the CPD Training Academy. In 2017, the Department of Justice found that severely deficient training led to a pattern of abuse by Chicago police.
One of the things that I don't want to do is force training to meet compliance. When we do that, we lose the quality in that training.
According to records obtained by the Watchdog Invisible Institute, during his 31 years on the job, Snelling has been the subject of 21 complaints, only 2 of which were upheld, one for use of force in 1994 and conduct unbecoming of an officer in 1995. Both led to short suspensions. Now that Chief Snelling has been chosen, the Selection Commission is required to hold a public meeting sometime in the next 21 days where he'll answer questions from the public and from that commission. We're still waiting for more information on when that meeting will be scheduled. Then from there, the City Council will have to vote to approve. In City Hall, Megan Hickey, CBS 2 Investigators.
Okay. And in case anybody's just joining us and you're going, what's with the weather thing on the screen? That was from the other day. It is currently partly cloudy and 81 here in Chicago. Actually, it was a pretty nice day. Well, this morning was kind of rainy and lousy, but it turned out to be a pretty nice day. And funny enough, they got this little video up here, which is my next story. So maybe I should just click over to that thing.
How safe are you and your family if you're...
Now, hold on a minute, because I got to mute that, because we are not watching an ad for whatever that is. Stand by.
Lots of locals and tourists are going to be disappointed for the next few months. The iconic bean is off limits. Check out the fencing around the bean. Now, the plaza that surrounds the sculpture will be getting a makeover until the spring. So no up-close access until then, unfortunately. But we do have some selfie alternatives, according to Choose Chicago.
Selfie alternatives. Okay. For those who don't know, yes, they call it the bean, but it's actually the Cloud Gate sculpture. And what kind of timing to close this thing off? We're like we got the it's the end, it's the back end of the festival, like the summer festivals, but also Taste of Chicago is going to be what, in early September, and people aren't going to be able to get up and get their selfies at the bean. Somebody wasn't thinking this through. Somebody should have said, you know what? Why don't we wait to do this until after Taste of Chicago? NASCAR screwed everything up. They screwed up everyone's plans, including this. So now we've got CBS2 giving people selfie alternatives because you can't go walk up to the bean for a month or more.
Chicago skyline is seen from the Adler Planetarium, the Chicago Theater Marquee, Buckingham Fountain, and the Picasso sculpture.
I mean, you were probably going to do that anyway, though. So I don't understand. It's like, yeah, I mean, here we are. Limited for months, this article says. So I don't know what they were thinking. If it's going to be limited for months, why don't they wait until after the Taste of Chicago? So let's see what if they have any more details on what the hell this is about here. Granger Plaza undergoing construction beginning on Tuesday. That would have been today, according to Chicago Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events. Don't you think the D case would have been, maybe we should put a little bit of a delay on this, all the stuff that they promote, like Blues Fest and all those other things that they said they do for the city. Why would they think that now's a good time before Taste of Chicago is happening? You got people coming in for Taste of Chicago, from out of town. One of the first places they're going to want to go, the Bean, Millennium Park. It's a goofy sculpture. We all made fun of it. We all still make fun of it, really. But it is one of those sculptures that's kind of interesting. It's an interesting, shiny piece of art in the city, in a place where a lot of people gather. And it's right around where, people are going to be for all those different festivals, including the Taste of Chicago. Why would you not wait until after Taste of Chicago? And that's my little soapbox rant for this evening. What else we got going on the show? Kathy's like, no bean. And she's hoping there aren't structural problems. I mean, what kind of structural problems would they have? I mean, it's a bean. I mean, maybe they need to double check that the thing isn't starting to rust somewhere, and so maybe they need to break a panel apart and then fix that, patch it up, recoat it, and then shine it up real shiny. But how long can that really take? Arturo says it's literally the only thing people from all over the world know about Chicago, that thing is here and it's shiny. Yes. That and Al Capone and deep dish pizza, probably. Some people know Chicago hot dogs. They're starting to learn about Italian beef, but that's probably because of that one TV streaming series. What the hell is it called? Can't remember. I don't have that streaming series. The Bear, I think it's called The Bear. Arturo says, "Oh, look, Depeche Mode in Mexico City." What are you talking about, man? Anyway, the other thing going on tonight is I think the Cubs are playing the White Sox at Wrigley Field. Anybody know if that's on regular television? We might be able to tune in after the show because I don't have money to pay for Marquee Sports Network or whatever whatever pay network they might be on. Oh, so apparently advertisements are playing in our show. One played for Arturo that popped up on a page for him. Oh, you're talking about the page I've got up on the screen. See, I got like 10 things on my screen right now. I see a Kia ad on my end. McAfee. All right. Moving on to another thing here. Okay, we did Arwady getting fired. We got a new police chief, Larry Snelling. They're going to close off access to the bean at the dumbest possible time. And then what else? What else is in my show notes here? Okay. I mean, we can talk about this for a minute. There's a trial going on. For the ex-top aide of Michael Madigan. And some of you may remember that Michael Madigan was I think he was the head of the Illinois House of Representatives, I think, for a long time. Very big part of the Chicago machine. And this guy here, Tim Mapes, he's on trial right now. And while I put him up on the screen, I'm going to open another tab in the background so I can read this. Now, yes, that's right. Okay, so this is from the Sun-Times from the 14th. That'd be yesterday. The quote says, "I do not think we should talk in person or on the phone. Ex-top aide to Madigan was warned in an email about federal probe." That reminds me of something. What does that remind me? Oh yeah, hold on. Let me see if I've got a thing here that I had a link to a thing. Did I send that to myself? I might have sent it to myself. When there's good things I send to myself, it's like, yeah, let's save that for the show. And then while I have that going on, I try to delay and stall. But what I really should be doing is hitting this really quick. I'll be right back. Okay. So here we are with the article about Tim Mapes, and it says 2 months after the feds made a big move on allies of then Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan in 2019, one longtime lieutenant of the Southwest Side Democrat reached out to another. "Seriously, how you doing?" Tim Mapes asked Michael McLean by email in July 2019. Mapes had served for 2 decades as Madigan's chief of staff. McLean was the speaker's longtime friend. The FBI had raided the homes of McLean and others with ties to Madigan in May 2019. McLean complained to Mapes of psychological pressure, and he warned they probably shouldn't speak. I do not think we should talk in person or on the phone for a while, McLean wrote to Mapes. I cannot explain, but trust me, this is serious. Federal prosecutors on Monday pointed to that and other emails between Mapes and McLean as they kicked off the second week of Mapes' trial for perjury and attempted obstruction of justice. Where am I? Oh. Mapes is accused of trying to block the Fed's aggressive pursuit of Madigan and McLean, who now face criminal charges of their own. McLean was right to be concerned about speaking on the phone, as his had already been wiretapped by the Feds for several months. During that time, Madigan had forced Mapes to resign as chief of staff over unrelated bullying and harassment allegations. I now realize I gave myself the wrong video clip that I was going to play. But there was, this reminded me, the reason why they don't like to talk on the phone is because they can get tapped by the Feds. And it reminded me of the movie Goodfellas. If you guys remember Paulie, who never talked on the phone. It was always one of his lieutenants or one of his lieutenants who would relay information over the phone, and then the top guy next to Paulie would walk over and talk to him about whatever he had to talk to him about. And I feel like Madigan was like that. So, where am I here? Okay. I'm going to scroll down a little bit because it's all just talking about the different times that they either caught him lying or perjuring himself. It says jurors heard a colorful bit of testimony from retired FBI Special Agent Brendan O'Leary after he had testified Thursday that Madigan was, quote, different from any other politician I've ever seen because he didn't. Hold on. Why did it do that to me? Didn't use a cell phone or send emails or text messages. On Monday, O'Leary returned to the stand and took the description further, explicitly comparing Madigan to a, quote, head of a mafia family. Yeah, just like Paulie in Goodfellas. Meanwhile, prosecutors acknowledge that Mapes' trial is taking longer than expected, and they may not rest their case until late in the week. The series of emails highlighted Monday by Assistant U.S. Attorney Julia Schwartz, with the help of FBI Special Agent Ryan McDonald, opened a window into the minds of Madigan's close confidants as the Fed's probe of Madigan broke into the open in 2019. Okay. And then it goes, then they're talking about the ComEd bribery thing, which we've already talked about, where those other 4 people got convicted. And so, people like to say the walls are closing in, and a lot of times nobody means it. I don't know. I don't think Madigan is as Teflon Don seems to be. Although the wall, they're trying really hard to close the walls in on Donnie Shortfingers right now. But Madigan, I'm not so sure. So yeah, this is a story in progress because obviously the trial's still going on, and there would be more. I think there would be more analysis and better analysis when Jerry's back because he and I want to stay on top of this and also talk back and forth on the ins and outs of this stuff because of all the Chicago machine corruption is stuff that we both like to talk about. What else do I have an update for? It's kind of an update. You guys remember that the Teamsters and UPS workers had a tentative contract agreement Well, there are still members of the rank and file that are not happy about the agreement that they had. I would estimate part of it is because the wage they settled on for part-timers is still too low. And there's probably other compromises that were made that were really compromises in one direction and not in the other. So we have a group of I believe they're rank and file that are calling themselves Teamsters Mobilize. And they're asking, should we trust the company not to spy? There is no reason to believe that UPS will keep these cameras off. I guess they have cameras. They're being watched while they work. We all know UPS logic goes something like this: break the contract first, pay for the grievance weeks later. See, they're already predicting what UPS is probably going to do. So now this is just one issue. They're talking about cameras, but they have other problems. And you guys can check out Teamsters Mobilize with a Z, Mobiliz, over on Twitter, and they got a whole timeline full of posts and information on what their grievances are. So, mixing it up a little more, something interesting I saw on the interwebs the other day. Now, this guy, Nick Taliaferro, who's calling himself knife-wielding hemophiliac for some reason, put together a little graph because he noticed an interesting, weird historical trend here. And he says, so he made a graph called Active American Serial Killers. And he was basically comparing it with the phase out of leaded gasoline. Some of you may not be old enough to remember that automobiles used to run on leaded gas before they created unleaded gas. Now, they used to call leaded gas regular, and then the unleaded would just be called unleaded. And then they stopped using leaded gas altogether. When did they stop using leaded gas? Well, they started phasing it out in 1973, according to this graph. Now, they were listing like the use of leaded. They invented leaded gas in 1921. The average American household owned a car around 1930. Then the Great Depression hit. Then World War II. Then the baby boom started. And this line in the graph here, that's their list of serial killers. I'm assuming serial killers being reported in the news or newspapers. And notice in 1950, as the baby boom starts happening, that number starts going up and up and up to where in the early 1970s, it's heading skyward with the number of serial killers. What could possibly be the cause? Leaded gasoline in the cars? Maybe that stuff is ending up in the exhaust fumes and into the atmosphere and causing brain issues. The way, lead is like damaging people's brains when it's in, a contaminated water supply, maybe. So they hit the peak around 1980. And you guys probably remember this. There was a whole bunch of movies about serial killers that started cropping up around that time too, just because, if there's more serial killers in reality being reported, that's going to give movie producers ideas on, well, maybe we should do some movies on serial killers. And then they phased it out completely in 1996. It's amazing that it took all the way until 96 to finally say, okay, we've had enough with lead in our gasoline. But then it started, the serial killer started going downward again. So either the lead had something to do with it, or they're just using lead as a scapegoat now, and they're just learning to hide themselves better. I don't know. I just thought this was an interesting graph, and so I've seen it, and now you cannot unsee it. So thank you very much. Speaking of environment, this is a non-serial killer story coming up next. Coming from the Daily Montanan. Yes, this is a story from Montana, but it has national implications because it says, judge sides with youth in Montana climate change trial, finds 2 laws unconstitutional. Let me get it tabbed together here so I can read this for you. There's a picture of the kids. It's 11 of the 16 youth plaintiffs in the Held versus Montana case posing for a photo after day 5 of the trial on Friday, June 16th. I don't know why. Well, I guess the trial took a while. They reported this on the 14th, or this article's from the 14th. State of Montana's failure to consider greenhouse gas emissions from energy and mining projects violates the state constitution because it does not protect Montanans' right to a clean and healthful environment and the state's natural resources from unreasonable depletion, a judge ruled Monday in a victory for 16 youth plaintiffs who sued the state. Hold on a second. Let me switch over the chat really quick. Now, Arturo says, someone just tell all those kids they are not making a difference, and if they make a movie about this case, they will be played by better-looking kid actors. Okay, I mean, that's a little pessimistic on this. You got to start somewhere, Arturo. It starts with one state suing and hopefully winning without losing on appeal. Obviously, yeah, people who are polluters probably have a lot more money to try and appeal. So I get what you're saying. But if they can do this in every state, then maybe we can start making a dent in turning around the pollution that's happening in this country, and then maybe the planet. I know, I'm being optimistic here. I'm trying to see the positive side of this. Arturo's like, yeah, but climate change is irreversible. Currently, I personally think that at some point undetermined point down the road, technology may come and bail us out when people start pulling their heads out of their asses and actually figure out solutions that are going to fix the types of pollution and greenhouse type effects that are happening that aren't supposed to be happening on the planet, to maybe cool it down. I've always speculated that somebody's got some weather control devices that they're holding back on. Every time we have a weird weather event, I start thinking, I'm like, yeah, it could be global warming, but also maybe some dude is just sending a bunch of tornadoes down in this downtown Chicago. We don't have enough information. Arturo says, if only there were some crashed UFO the government has that can reverse climate change. Yeah, wouldn't that be sweet? So I'm going to continue with the article. Lewis and Clark County District Court Judge Kathy Seeley sided with the young plaintiffs in her decision in the Held versus Montana trial, striking down as unconstitutional the so-called limitation to the Montana Environmental Policy Act, which was amended by the legislature this year, as well as another portion of law surrounding greenhouse gas emissions that was changed this past session. So it sounds to me like the Montana legislature was trying to pull fast ones with their legislation, and the kids sued them and won. Sealy permanently enjoined the 2023 version of the MEPA limitation passed via House Bill 971, blah, 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 and Senate Bill 557, etc. Okay. Plaintiffs have a fundamental right to a clean and healthful environment, which includes climate as part of the environmental life support system, Sealy wrote in her decision. At least we got one judge who understands what's at stake here. You know, I mean, obviously we're not going to, we got an uphill battle here. And so yeah, Arturo, I feel you. Also, he's asking, is today's Kira's birthday? I believe so. It's what I was informed. So happy birthday, Kira, if you're watching. Hope it was a good one. Lynette says trees are good for some mitigation, proven technology, not many other options. Yeah, we should be planting trees. I mean, they've been telling people to plant trees for decades. The problem is they just keep cutting them down and or burning them or replacing them with other types of vegetation or buildings that aren't as good for the environment. But I'm hardly a tree hugger here. I just want to save the planet. You know, tiny goals first, you know, save the planet, then the galaxy. Got to start with the planet. Okay. What else in this article? Today, for the first time in U.S. history, a court ruled on the merits of a case that the government violated the constitutional rights of children through laws and actions that promote fossil fuels, ignore climate change laws, and disproportionately imperil young people, Olson said. Julie Olson, chief legal counsel for Our Children's Trust, the group behind the lawsuit. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because the part of the Montana Constitution that they were citing for this case is similar to the one in Illinois' state constitution, and I'll bet a bunch of other states have similar clauses that are like it. In Illinois, it is Article 11 on the environment. Section 1, public policy, legislative responsibility says the public policy of the state and the duty of each person is to provide and maintain a healthful environment for the benefit of this and future generations. The General Assembly shall provide by law for the implementation and enforcement of this public policy. Section 2, Rights of Individuals says, each person has the right to a healthful environment. Each person may enforce this right against any party, governmental or private, through appropriate legal proceedings, subject to reasonable limitation and regulation as the General Assembly may provide by law. That's in the Illinois Constitution. So if somebody in Illinois wanted to sue, I don't know, who do you sue, the EPA or somebody responsible for, or I guess Illinois Congress. But that's you would either do what the kids in Montana are doing. So maybe some environmental group in Illinois needs to contact the kids in Montana and ask them how to do this. Because what we want to do is get the ball rolling on every state doing the same or similar lawsuits against their government continuing to cut corners and allow polluting, which is just making it worse for everybody. Yeah, and that said, Arturo's correct. We have basically gone way past the threshold of where we should have gone. And at this point, we're mitigating something that some people may feel like it's already too late. But I still am holding out hope we'll have some type of technological solution. Or maybe it's just planting a lot of trees. Some solution that's going to help us try to stop and preferably reverse some of the damage that's been done. Yeah. Lynette says, it's elementary property law. Destruction of your environment constitutes a taking. This is not hard. Okay, well, then it should be easy for someone who has the correct connections to get the ball rolling on this. That's good news. Okay. Dominic, constituentpolling.org, says, remember that laws are intentionally written to protect the interests of polluting corporations, so there are plenty of ways to circumvent any court rulings. Yeah. Well, let's come up with solutions to that too. You know, I have solutions, but most of my solutions are lava based. And the reason I say that is I have a parody website that is called volcanoparty.org. And I can't get it up on the screen. Hold on. There we go. Now, the reason I am bringing this up is, I made it as a little bit of artistic creativity, and it's definitely parody, because how are you going to seriously do some of the solutions I've listed, like lifting up Congress, the entire building with helicopters and dropping them into the nearest volcano? I don't think that's feasible, to be honest with you. But then again, there are scientists currently working on room temperature superconductors. So maybe that's something that's a solution for the future to help make that issue a reality. Now I have this is mostly, to sell stupid, funny merch, but it does list some relevant topics here, because our representatives, they don't realize that they're supposed to work for us. They're working for their own selfish interests, and for their corporate buddies, and a lot of them don't care what happens to the rest of us. It's quite clear from some of the stuff that they do. So my solution was drop them into a volcano. Now, does that make me a bad person? I'll leave that to history to decide. All right. What's next on the program? Hey, let's find out. Oh, good. We're at that part of the program. Now, I was on Instagram the other day, and you guys remember that what the hell was it called? That Chonkosaurus video. Remember that big snapping turtle that they found in the Chicago River? All right, let me refresh your memory here.
Look at this guy. Look at his. We got a picture of his most beautiful side. Look at the size of that thing. Oh my God. That's a massive turtle. Is that a snapper? He's a snapper.
So the guy who you hear in that video is hold on a second. Okay. Is this guy, Al Scorch. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Unless it's A.L. Scorch. He'll have to let us know. Did you know he's a poet? And I saw he had a poem, and it was about Chicago hot dogs. So I thought you might want to hear his poem.
I got to thinking about how much I love Chicago-style hot dogs, and I got to thinking about how much I love Emily Dickinson, and I thought, what would Emily Dickinson write about Chicago-style hot dogs? So I took a crack at it, and maybe it'd be something like mustard's acid yellow dressing, relish verdant, green so vibrant, onions, tomatoes, cucumbers cut into vegetables refinement, light as tufted seeds upon the wind so buoyant, angel's fluff, the hot dog bun, flecked with poppy seeds, this holy vessel holds all of summertime's enjoyment. Botanical salinity of celery salt's anointment, as sporting pepper's jaunty spice joins with the kosher dill, the spirit it pierced, the sight of Christ dogs split open on the grill, and the mingling of charcoal upon the humid wind, let all who care to know or notice that summer once again begins. Just a little beauty.
I think that was beautiful, right? I'm inspired. Is anyone else inspired? I'm pretty inspired by that. So, yeah. So that was Al Scorch. Check him out on Instagram. That was his Chicago hot dog poem in the style of Emily Dickinson. And now we've reached the part of the program where I need to close a bunch of tabs. So, I got an idea. Let's watch a thing here.
Extraterrestrials, strange phenomena, missing persons, lost continents, myths, and monsters.
We examine these mysteries to determine, are they bullshit or not?
They are not, and I will tell you why they are not, because it's time for This Day in History here on Chicago Corner. And as soon as I get to the thing here, do I have the thing? Ooh, I got to get the other thing. I'm totally making sense here, right? Yeah. I stalled and I played the video thing and I still needed more time. I don't know how Jerry does it every week, to be honest with you. Okay, this day in history, August 15, 1914. The Panama Canal, connecting Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, was officially opened on this day in 1914. The original construction began in 1880 by French engineers, but after 20,000 workers died of malaria, yellow fever, and other diseases during construction, the French gave up, and American money and engineers completed the project. The canal is 48 miles long and has 3 major locks. And tolls are decided by the Panama Canal Authority based on vessel type, size, and cargo. The tolls still provide a significant saving on fuel and time for ships to go through the long route round Cape Horn at the southernmost tip of South America. And I've got a video. If I can get this thing on the thing. Because I thought you might like to see how the Panama Canal works.
The process of transiting the Panama Canal is very similar for every vessel, from a sailboat to an enormous cruise ship. Each vessel accesses the locks through the gates to reach a height of 26 meters above sea level. A control house operator closes the gates to the locks and then opens the valves that control the water flow. It takes 8 minutes to fill the chamber to elevate the ship, which is kept in the center of its transit by locomotives. This operation is almost exactly the same at the 3 sets of locks in the Panama Canal. It takes between 8 and 10 hours to transit the Panama Canal from ocean to ocean. More than 10 million ships have done it since its opening.
And that came from the Panama Canal's YouTube page. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. What else happened today on August 15th? On August 15th, 1930, following the stock market crash in late 1929, America is hit by one of the worst droughts ever seen, which combined with the market crash of 29 leaves many hundreds of thousands without food and shelter. Sound familiar? Okay. Hold on a second. Let me read the thing here. President Herbert Hoover tells Americans his plans for relief of individuals and businesses affected by the droughts only confirms that his plans were not wide-ranging enough to stave off the Great Depression years, which dogged not only America, but the world during the rest of the 1930s. Now, he's saying that, yeah, he underperformed in the types of things that he needed to do to really take people out of a depression. And here's a historical document from U.S. History Help.
And President Hoover tried to reassure the nation by saying recovery is just around the corner. But it was not to be, and more Americans grew disenchanted with his policies and administration. Secretary of the Treasury Andrew Mellon echoed the beliefs of most of Hoover's advisors that the economy would recover on its own. Hoover thought the government must take some action, but feared making government too strong, and so he chose a conservative approach, calling together business, banking, and labor leaders and urging them to work together and avoid laying off workers or calling strikes. Then he authorized the expenditure of federal funds for large public works projects, like Boulder Dam, later renamed Hoover Dam, to create jobs and wages for thousands of workers. Hoover felt giving direct help to needy Americans would undermine their self-respect and looked to private charities to help the hungry. Instead, he approved more than $2 billion in emergency financing to businesses, hoping their renewed success would trickle down to the people.
Trickle down. Where have I heard that from before? This, I mean, literally, it feels like Biden is Hoover, or Hoover is Biden, with the dumb moves that he's making. Let's bail out all the corporations. Well, it's not just Biden, really. It's really like the past handful of presidents were doing the same thing. Let's help out the corporations, and then everything's going to trickle down. Because we, apparently giving money to the corporations is not a handout. So that's fine. It's only a handout when they give it to individuals, right?
People who needed assistance. It didn't. Rather, unemployment rose even higher, and Americans were caught in a web of despair. Public support for Hoover foundered, and with a chance to change direction, Americans overwhelmingly embraced a new president in Franklin Delano Roosevelt, popularly known as FDR.
So, yeah, you suck, Hoover. What else happened today on August 15th? Oh, that happened today. Yes, let's see that one. Hold on a minute. Stand by. I know it's taken a while, but I've got a bunch of videos playing in my head, and you guys can't hear any of it, and it's driving me mad. But that's okay, because there is a method to my madness. Hold on. Stand by. What happened today, August 15th, 1969? I can't play any more of the music or we're going to get dinged, but that's Santana at Woodstock. The Woodstock Arts and Music Festival opened with 500,000 rock music fans going to this Peace and Harmony Music Festival. Arlo Guthrie, Joan Baez, Santana, Canned Heat, Grateful Dead, Mountain, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Sly and the Family Stone, Janis Joplin, The Who, Jefferson Airplane, Joe Cocker, Country Joe and the Fish, 10 Years After, The Band, Johnny Winter, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Paul Butterfield Blues Band, Sha Na Na, Jimi Hendrix, and more bands played at this gigantic music festival. And if this gigantic music festival hadn't happened, there's no way Lollapalooza would exist today. But another interesting thing is there's probably a bunch of fun facts you didn't know about Lollapalooza.
They ran out of food at Woodstock in the first day. Luckily, a local Jewish organization.
Did I say Lollapalooza? I meant Woodstock. Take two. There's probably a bunch of things you didn't know about Woodstock.
They ran out of food at Woodstock in the first day. Luckily, a local Jewish organization made thousands of sandwiches and gave them out for free. But some of the festival attendees just couldn't wait and decided to drink straight from cows in order to get the nutrients to keep partying. The festival actually didn't even happen in Woodstock because the community was worried that all those hippies were going to destroy their community. So it was held on a farm in New Bethel instead. The opener, Richie Havens, was actually not supposed to open the festival, but had to step in and even fill extra time until the band Clearwater showed up. He had one of the most memorable performances of the show, and his song Freedom became very popular. Even though there were 186,000 advance tickets sold, it is estimated that over 400,000 people showed up. Tens of thousands of those people paid $0 to get in. Jimi Hendrix's rendition of the Star Spangled Banner was one of the best performances of the whole festival, but it was also one of the least attended because it was the closing act, and it got pushed all the way to 9 a.m. on Monday morning due to rain delays. There was no official Woodstock merchandise sold at the festival. There were only programs and bootleg merch sold by attendees. The 1970 Woodstock documentary won an Oscar for Best Doc. A young film student named Martin Scorsese made a name for himself and went on to be one of the top directors in Hollywood. There were 0 arrests at Woodstock, but there were 3 deaths. 2 people overdosed, and a 17-year-old was run over by a tractor while he was sleeping in his sleeping bag. There are a bunch of rumors about children being born at Woodstock, but there isn't a whole lot of documentation to back it up. The creators of Woodstock initially lost about $1.5 million, but they eventually paid off their debts and are still making some profit. They tried to do another Woodstock in 1970, but the farmer refused to let them use the land again. There have been 4 more Woodstocks since the original one in 1969, but they never successfully recreated the spirit of the original festival. The 1999 festival was by far the least successful because it had to.
Yeah, probably because of the fires. I'm just gonna guess because of the fires. By the way, this is from a channel called The Specialist, and it's called 12 Things You Didn't Know About Woodstock 1969.
To be shut down due to a crazy amount of crime and violence. There's a plan for Woodstock 50 in the summer of 2019.
Yeah, I don't think that happened. That was 4 years ago, or did they say 2019? That would be 50 years. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that happened. They did have some celebrations. I think there were some specials. Kathy says 0 arrests. Were you at Woodstock, Kathy? Did you get to go? I'm just asking. I don't know. Is anybody? I doubt anyone watching this show has went to Woodstock Music Festival in 1969, but you never know. So Woodstock. That was Woodstock. Happened today, August 15th. What else? Oh, and finally, there are more things, and you can check the link to the This Day in History thing on in the show notes. That there's a link in description for the video that you're watching right now. So please remember to like, share, subscribe to the channel, tell all your friends and neighbors that this show exists and that it's way more fun when Jerry and Oreo are here. I forgot to tell you, Oreo is also not available today. Otherwise, he'd be on the stream with us. What happened today, August 15th, 1971? President Richard M. Nixon announced a 90-day freeze on wages, prices, and rents in an attempt to bring increasing inflation under control. He also removed the gold and silver backing from the US dollar, effectively ending the Bretton Woods system, also known as taking the US dollar off the gold standard. And the American role as the guarantor of stability for the US dollar and other world currencies. By the end of the year, the US dollar became a floating currency, and shortly after, most of the rest of the world's currencies followed, which is still the case today. Though it gets more complicated, though, with countries joining to have a common currency like the euro. But essentially what that did in 1971 was it let the US dollar become a fiat currency in a way that they no longer had to tie it to gold, so they could do all kinds of federal spending that you couldn't do before. At least from my perspective, I think that's what happened. Some people are critics of this. They didn't want us to take the U.S. off the gold standard. But if you're on the gold standard, there's only so much gold. So you cannot, I mean, while that might have controlled inflation because there's only so much gold, it would have limited the U.S. in the types of and amounts of spending that it could do. Now, some people would say, well, maybe that would be a good thing because then they wouldn't spend like billions of dollars on a proxy war. But then also, they wouldn't have billions of dollars or wouldn't be able to create billions of dollars to do a gigantic infrastructure bill if they ever pulled their heads out of their asses to do a properly sized one. Or to create money to have a national healthcare system or any number of federal programs that they could do if they had the political will. Because right now, the only thing that our government is limited by right now is political will and available resources, because money's always there. There's always the money to pay for things. They just have to make sure that there are things that can be paid for. You get what I'm saying? So if, for example, if they wanted to buy 1 million apples, there has to be 1 million apples for them to be able to buy them. So that then we can have, we could nationalize apple pies and have free apple pies delivered by drones on demand for anybody who wants them. It'd be a much better use for the drones to just be, an hot apple pie delivery service. Don't you think? Kathy says it stopped inflation just like that. Well, yeah. The problem is when they print too many dollars and they put them in a place where there's not enough resources. So it's still a dollars versus resources type of situation. So people complain that, people are making too much money, or or wages are too high because they think that's going to cause inflation. That's only one tiny piece of where inflation goes. And I know this isn't really going to be a financial show this evening, but we already know that if inflation was going to be as big of a problem as they make it out to be in Congress and on the television, then we'd already have inflationary problems because of the ridiculous amount of military spending that's happening. But it's not, and they would be complaining about the military spending being a factor for the inflation, but it's not. So when you're throwing billions of dollars at a war, or at the military industrial complex, or so some type of thing that isn't actually helping people, then it kind of throws your other argument out the window about we don't have enough money to pay for healthcare. We don't have enough money to pay for food assistance benefits, or to help people get a roof over their head, or any number of social programs like mental health services and anything. Road maintenance. I mean, rebuild the roads and bridges. Spend as much money as it takes, as long as the resources are there. That's your priority. Make sure the resources are there. You always have the money to pay for it on the federal level. And that's me. Again, I got back on my soapbox. Sorry about that. But I hope you guys learned something this evening. It was National Lemon Meringue Pie Day, and now I have a feeling like I need to go to the store and get some lemons, because I want to make a pie now. But aside from that, I think it was very educational today. We learned that we no longer have Allison Arwady running as the top doc in Chicago. We have a new police chief, and that's Larry Snelling. We'll see what he does in the going months. We don't know what's going to happen with crime. We know that in a lot of ways it's still out of control, and what are they going to do about it? I don't know. But we'll keep talking about that and other topics. What else? What else did we cover today? We talked about the Madigan's guy on trial, and that's still in progress. We talked about how leaded gasoline is potentially the cause of serial killers. We talked about how Montana may help us save the environment. Kids in Montana. Little steps. I hate little steps. I don't like incrementalism, but sometimes you got to take a step one place so you can show other people how it's done. And then they all pick it up in their own state, and maybe we get the ball rolling downhill on fixing the planet. At least for humans to live on. The planet doesn't care if we do this stuff, because the planet's not going anywhere. We are, if we don't do something about that. We heard a hot dog poem done in the style of Emily Dickinson by Al Scorch. And we learned about a bunch of stuff that happened on this day in history, including the Panama Canal, and how Herbert Hoover sucked and made the Great Depression worse, and how Woodstock Music Festival happened today. And we also learned that Richard Nixon took us off the gold standard, and that it is very likely Kira's birthday today. So happy birthday, Kira. I want to thank you all for joining us, and I hope you will join us again on When are you joining us again? Friday, right? Why am I asking you? You guys don't know. Yes, you do. If you're a regular viewer, yes, Friday, when we will see you once again. And hope you will join us 7:30 p.m. Central Time on Friday, where Jerry is driving the ship, and he will keep it on the rails. And I will be joining him as a co-host, and we will see you again on Friday.
Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. If you would like to be a guest on Chicago Corner, please email our host, Jerry, at chicagocorner.tv.